Good afternoon. My name is Joe Bandel, and I am the last Rosicrucian. I haven't done a Gaia Ascension update for a while, and I thought I would. Tomorrow, June 6th, is the new moon, and things are really on the new moon. The few days before the new moon, everything rises, or it tries to rise into awareness. So we always get new insights and closures, things understandings that come up. They're coming up as opposed to physically manifesting. This is awareness. So the new moon is associated with the awareness of things, the full moon associated with the manifestation of things. So anyway, the last full moon was really special. I did a video on that, and I talked about, hey, there's not going to that what I perceive, and I mentioned that I don't channel things particularly. I function on the etheric and astral planes, and what I try to share is just what I perceive, what I sense happening one way or another. And I sensed that the split was happening. I sensed that we didn't need to wait for 20 years or whatever, that there's not going to be a pole shift. And I referred back to 30 years ago when I had this vision of ascension, and I remembered in that vision the outermost astral planes tipped about that far and stopped. And that's about how far they've tipped. That's about how far they've tipped since, or the earth is tipped. The whole earth is tipped since back then. And the sense I have of things is that there's so many people, so many New Agers, so many light bringers that are anchoring. They're tapping into the light. They're tapping into the spiritual light, and they're anchoring that light at Earth's core, that they're creating corridors, literal corridors of stabilizing energy. And that the energy is, because they're massive conduits of force, of energy, and they're enough to stabilize that tilting. And I fully believe, and I sense that what's going to be happening, what's turning the corner, what's going to be happening, and especially in a couple weeks when we come up to the summer solstice, which is a solar event also, where the days start getting shorter and the energy reverses. I think we're going to really see that Earth's magnetosphere, and by definition the astral planes, etheric planes, the astral planes, are going to begin strengthening because of the work that these light workers have done in anchoring this light. And that what's going to happen is the weak spots, the fragile spots, the self-destructive spots are going to accelerate in their self-destruction. That's what we're going to see. But I also sensed that at that time, the planet, the Gaia was ascending, but it was ascending actually being split. And we call this, a lot of people have wrote about this, the planet A and planet B scenario, where one part of Gaia is going to go this way, one part of it's going to go that way. Well, I have a little addition to that that I think will help the understanding. Is what happens is every 2,000 years, a new chakra center lights up, and that becomes the dominant energy for 2,000 years. Then the next one lights up, and so on. And there are primarily 7 chakra centers. You could say there's 7 rings in an electron shells, 7 electron shells that correspond to that, just like the 7 colors in the rainbow or the 7 notes on the piano keyboard. And what happens is when you go from the spiritual abstract energies to the unity energies, it's like going to number 8. It's like going to the high C, and then there's low C. And what happens essentially is the root chakra center, let's call it low C or middle C or whatever you want to call it, but then it goes every 2,000 years, another note is struck until it goes up to the unity spot, and it opens that chakra and that energy, which is the unity energy, total unity. But that unity energy and the root chakra energy are both the same note but on a different octave. So what happens at that point is you have the world split. You have those that resonate and are attracted to the earth, the lower note, if you will, the lower root chakra, are going to gain their empowerment from that energy source. And you have the other souls, the other life forms that resonate and are drawn and attracted to the light, to the photon as a source of energy, are going to be drawn to that point. And that's essentially what these people are talking about, the ascension and the earth being split. One's being drawn toward the womb of creation, the earth, the new earth, and the other one's being drawn toward the spiritual light, toward the photon, toward the unity as the power source. However, there's a third group, which is the one that I belong to, which is the one that has been striving to build and maintain a bridge, a full spectrum ascension, which has the ability to tap into both power sources. And we are the ones that have said and believed that Gaia in her ascension is bringing with her every living thing. Every living thing is ascending with her to a new stage, leaving nothing behind. And that's the school where the soul group that I belong to and that I'm talking about. And there's been a conflict, if you will, between people. You know, everything gets confused, but what's important? And it's kind of like it's time, because this has happened. The earth has split. It's made it split. But there is a smaller group that is holding it all together. And in my energy ball meditations, these group portal meditations that I do, I sense other individuals in my soul group that are doing that meditation with me. And we are holding we're connected to the both power. We are ascending full spectrum ascension. But what's important for you as a listener, look inside, sense inside. Are you drawn to the light and spirit in prayer and meditation? Are you drawn to the Mother Earth, the vital life force, to the living things, to the animals? Or are you, like me, trying to incorporate both of them? The point is that if you're tapping into the light, tapping into the spiritual light, and you're trying to anchor it down into the Earth's core, into Gaia's core, that's what's important. And what that means is, hey, you need to strengthen your root chakra center. You need to you need to develop and strengthen your etheric body and integrate them with the other chakra centers, with the other energy bodies, astral bodies that you have, because you're oriented toward the earth, and the root chakra center is the dominant one for the next 2,000 years. If you are oriented toward the photon space, that's going to be the dominant center for the next 2,000 years. So you're pretty much have lost your earth connection. You're on your way out. This is what's been happening. Those people who are oriented up in the head on this area, they're on their way out because they have lost their earth connection. And as that earth connection is breaking, they're being vulnerable to things, and they just are kind of having to move up to stay out of trouble. The rest of us really are dealing with trying to transmute these hostile and negative currents into positive empowerments. Okay, so that's essentially what's been happening, but I want to talk about a couple visions or dreams, what I've had, because I use these visions, these dreams, to determine what's going on with Gaia's ascension. And one I had a week or a week and a half ago, something like that. It was a very powerful, very vivid dream. I was actually on Gaia, and walking on it, but it was totally covered with, it was like tree roots, vegetation or whatever. There was no spot where you could reach down to the bare earth, and there were not really trees or anything like that. It was all just kind of like interwoven roots, maybe some leaves, vines, things like that. And there I was kind of walking on it, and I didn't see anybody else there, but what that symbolized to me was that the lower earth levels, the levels of the minerals, the levels of the oceans, the level of rising above the oceans, there are the plants. That had ascended. That had achieved that space. It had achieved that. And if you think about it, Gaia and the life on Gaia can be broken down into the mineral kingdom, and it can be broken down into the vegetable kingdom, which has roots going deep into the earth. That is what that dream was about. There was a new earth, and the living things that I was sensing had its roots deep into that earth. on that earth, I was walking. And that was how all living beings that are not rooted, they're not vegetable, but they're actually walk on top of, that's the next level. It's where life forms, they're not, they don't have roots, but they're still connected to the earth and they're walking on it. And that's where I found myself. And what that said was, hey, people are starting to ascend, and that lower level, that vegetation level, is already sealed off. It's valid. It's done. Well, sure enough, a few days later, maybe a week later, I forget exactly the times, I had another dream, and this was a classroom situation. The classroom situation had a group of people, and there they were coming in for a class. It's like the school of the astral or whatever. Over the years, I've had lots of times where you kind of end up in a class. I've had times when I maybe teaching a class, but I've had times as a student. And I found it was like the desks were pushed off to the side, and there was like an empty space in the middle. Well, I grabbed one of the desks, and the whole sense of it was we're signing up for, this is like the first day of college or whatever. But anyway, I grabbed a desk and I brought it into the middle, and I was lining it up on the tile floors, and then I started bolting it down, which was kind of interesting. I'm down on my knees on the floor, and I'm tightening down the bolts that are holding this desk down. And I got finished. I got up and I went to sit down on my desk, and there was somebody sitting in it. It was like they snuck in. They tried to steal my space. They tried to steal my spot. And it wasn't really, it was like a conflict, but not really like a conflict. It was like, what I did was no, this isn't going to happen. And I turned around and I sat down on top of that person. And sitting down on top of them, I kind of squeezed them out, pushed them out. So I got my spot back. I got my space back. But I got to thinking, I've been thinking about that dream for 3-4 days. And I was thinking, that desk, that really represented my space. It represented my anchor to the earth. And there was somebody that was trying to steal my anchor to the earth. And they were not able to, they were not successful in that. And so what that tells to me is Gaia's ascension reached a critical point where some of the people that are trying to take your space, trying to use your earth energy, no longer have the ability to do that, because we are claiming our earth space. We're claiming our connection. We're claiming our power. And these other people no longer can do it. They've lost, and because they tried to do it, what that means is they've lost their earth connection. So they are, the only connection they have left, whether they want that connection or not, is this one way up here. So they're on their way out, one way or another. And that's, then I had my dream. This was a dream I had just last night. So I'm sharing that. So I'm kind of, because you have a growing sequence of events that comes along. I showed up in my dream. I showed up in Germany. I'd flown to Germany with all I had was a passport. Now, I love Germany. Germany is, I have my ancestral roots in Germany. I was in Germany on my golden birthday. I was 6 months over there as, well, 3 months as a college student, 3 months as a tourist, and I just, it's like home. It was my home back then. I mean, it's like, for me, it was just totally special. But so I ended up there, and it was like I didn't know anybody. I didn't know where I was going to sleep that night. I didn't know my way around because it had been a long time since I had been there, and I wasn't necessarily troubled by any of those things, but it was like there was just this awareness I didn't really know my way around. And there was somebody that helped me and kind of, okay, I'll make sure you get a place to sleep tonight. This is where the this is where the main traffic lanes are. So what happened was we go from just me being alone, well, this classroom situation, to where all of a sudden there's Gaia. There's where you can travel to another country, another continent. There's other people, not only other people there, but you can get lost. There's traffic. There's areas of traffic, which represents highways. And so what that tells me is that just in the space of this month, Gaia's split, that Gaia's ascension, is totally gone into a completely populated Earth for us. And that those self-destructive forces are going to be, they've lost or losing they've lost their Earth connection, and there's going to be a lot of dynamic things happening that represent that. So that's all I have to say for this update, but just kind of pay attention to, okay, am I light oriented, or am I womb of creation oriented? Am I earth oriented, or whatever? Because now is where the sorting out is happening. Gaia's finished. Gaia's done this thing. We, as humanity, are weeding ourselves out. We're splitting as well. This timeline's experiencing these things. This timeline is experiencing other things. Anyway, that's all I had to say, but I thought it was important enough, and I think that in a week or two you're going to see other channelers or whatever sensing similar things, because that's kind of how it goes. I seem to be a week or two ahead of most of the people out there, but they usually come around to something happening that they sense is similar. Till next time, thank you.